for your apologies first, because if I identify my friends, I've stopped using all those titles and stuff, Reverend, Doctor, Brother, and all that, Sister. You who you are.
Amen.
I call you by your first name. I'm sorry. No disrespect. I wouldn't dare do that. Had some of the best education. Amen. Been through seven different countries and traveled all over the world, and haven't lost myself in that.
All right.
I believe that we all have identity crisis. And Macbeth says, to thine own self be true. In other words, if you're a booger, know that you're a booger.
All right.
And all you got to do is carry on boogerism.
That's right.
That is a word. And the word boogerism is the stem word of negrosity. That is a word.
Amen.
Look it up. Negrosity. It has to do with your negridom. Amen.
Speak, Pastor.
I want to talk to you today. I had to share all that with you because the text tonight, the book of Titus, chapter 1. Chapter 1. God deals with two young preachers here. One preacher is belligerent. One preacher is wild. But another, the other is timid. And he has the ability to get along with people well. He has the ability to vociferate his thoughts and share who he is. Ira, it's good to see you, man. This preacher has the ability to share himself, and I've discovered that there are a lot of preachers, they are not very preacheristic. Amen. I was in the airport in Washington, D.C., Randall, and I washed my hand, and you know, any of y'all that ever been to the nightclub, you go to the nightclub, they got this guy in the bathroom passing you paper towel. Amen. And the thing I haven't understood about it, and I'll be a health hazard, because he'll give you a piece of peppermint right there in the bathroom. Some of that ought to finish yet. Don't let this go over your head. You know, there are a lot of things that go on in the bathroom. Amen. Some of you have to hold your nose. So you got to get out of there quick. But he was there, and he handed me a paper towel. He says, "You a preacher, aren't you?" I started washing my hands, wasn't going to answer him at first. "You a preacher, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, how you know?" "My daddy's one. And one day I'm going to be a preacher." I said, "Man, you're going to starve to death." You're going to starve to death. I remember I was sitting in the seminary, King, and I had told a fella, Cecil Smith Jr. I told Cecil Smith Jr., I said, "Man, I've been called to pastor a church down in my head in the country." And Cecil told some more friends, and when we got on a break from the class, they started laughing. I ain't heard preachers laugh so long. It's so hard in a long time. They were laughing. They asked me, said, "What you make a week?" I didn't want to tell them. First church I took, and the only church I've ever had, started to pay me $50 a week. And I know some people wouldn't bother. Some of y'all wouldn't take the salaries that you give us. That's preaching enough right there.
Amen.
Because you expect more from us than we're going to be able to give to you a lot of times.
That's right.
And then you have the nerve to hold a conversation about my shortcomings over dinner. And your bad kids, or your baby children. Here you talking about me and preachers all around and at the dinner table. They talk about you. They talk about you too. But what I saw in this text tonight, watch this. God will oftentimes give us assignments according to our personalities.
Amen.
Can I say to the wild churches, wild group of people, to the wolf pack, God will sometimes give you a killer, because some of y'all need to be killed. I'm just trying to say this where it's kind of funny so you'll get it. In the text, Paul had Titus and left Timothy and Titus in their places of personality. Look at the text if you will. You get a chance to look at it deep. He left Titus in the poverty of the projects. He left Titus in the center of the hood. Because every preacher, everybody can't handle hoodie folk.
Amen.
And I discovered if the preacher is going to be who God will desire him to be, he has to have a little hood in him.
Amen.
Amen. A lot of people think that we're supposed to be perfect in church, but I'm going to tell you, I still carry my gun.
You hear what? Amen.
Amen. It was a man that walked with God. Peter was known for cussing and cutting up. He had to have a little bit of the hood in him.
All right.
Because sometimes the pastor has to act like a thug
All right.
with the thugs in order to lead the thugs.
Amen.
I discovered, because I come from West Dallas, that a lot of the folk in our church got a little hood. They got a little thuggism in them. But it's because I believe that's who God has called me to come and to bring into his worship and his service. So Titus was the fella in the projects. He was a fella that pastored in the ghetto. He was hoodie. But Timothy, he was timid. He was a little bit scared. And coming up in West Dallas, if he wasn't a little bit hoodie, you couldn't keep the hoods off of you.
That's right.
I remember down at the baseball diamond, Bulldog told my brother, Ron, I'm gonna whoop you, man. You keep fooling with me. My brother Ron was just meddling with him, and I opened my big mouth and told Bulldog, now if you whoop me, I almost cursed. If you whoop me, Bulldog, you ain't got to whoop my brother. He
Amen.
took it over and done it real quick. But after he knocked me down, he helped me up. And Bulldog and I were really friends. He kept some folk off of me at the school.
All right. All right.
And you know, if you wasn't going to be a fighter, you had to have a good joke to tell people. And I believe that's how Titus was. He had the ability to keep the ghetto in his heart, but separated from who he was. And that's where we run into God. We try to be Christian and so Christians that sinners don't like us.
Amen.
We try to be so divine
Amen.
and don't want the devil to peek his neck up out of us.
That's right.
We try to be somebody who we're not.
All right.
And here Titus was a big mouth fellow. Little short hook-nosed booger could fight. He was noted for cutting up. Now I know we don't have that in our church. I'm thankful for that, because country folk, boy, they got a different way of whooping a city Negro. Amen. You got some country people that don't supposed to have education, but they will beat you up mentally. Amen. They will beat you up mentally. Now, I noticed that these two men were different. Timothy's assignment was in a place of lavish luxury, because he took Titus to the projects, but he took Timothy to a place of Corinth, and Corinth was a place where the runaway child was always running wild. Corinth was like Harry Hines used to be. Oh, somebody hear me
Come on now.
Corinth was a place to where when you wanted to get into some devilment, you always went to Corinth and you looked over your shoulder to make sure that you knew who was watching you. Now that's something that people won't do nowadays. We get to cussing, cutting up, fussing, fighting. You want to see a good fight? Don't go to the nightclub. Go to church.